Hello everyone. This is AIMT. Sorry. Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss AIMT2032105. So you must have gone through this test. Now let's see the type of questions that were there, and we will analyze why a particular option is the answer and why the other options are wrong. We'll see if there are any good ways in which one can infer and assume from whatever is written. Yes, this is very important for any RC that is there. Then we'll be applying some grammar rules, some logic, in framing sentences. So let's move ahead, and definitely vocabulary comes into play. So as I said, this is a test of English language, and here we have the directions for the questions at the start. Now the directions say, read the following passage and answer the questions and fill in the blanks as directed. Some words or phrases are printed in bold to enable you to identify them quickly while answering questions related to them. So this is an added advantage that you have, that the words that are in bold, definitely there are some questions related to those words. Plus obviously, whenever you read, whenever there's a reading comprehension passage, the things that you need to keep in mind, yes, the idea flow of the passage, the central idea, and the author's approach. So we call it the tone of the passage. So these three things are very important. As you read the passage, you must be able to understand how a particular paragraph is related to the next paragraph, in that order. And that gives you the idea flow. Central idea would be what is the author's objective or aim in writing that particular passage. What is the author trying to convey to the reader? So that becomes the central idea. And tone is, the way the author has presented the whole passage. The tone can be positive or negative, or it can be neutral. And obviously, the style of writing also plays a part over here. At first, let us read the passage. Let us understand what the author has conveyed. And then we'll begin to answer questions based on the given passage. So the next thing would be to start reading the passage. So I'm giving you some time to go through the passage. Please do so. So slide by slide, you read also, and then we will discuss also what is there. So yes, so the passage starts with, it never occurred to Sara Hussaini that one day she might think of Moria camp with something approaching affection. The 22-year-old Afghan spent 2 years in the infamous holding facility on Lesbos, and throughout her young daughters were sick. So the first sentence itself, tells us that it never occurred to the protagonist over here, to Sara Hussaini, that one day she might think of Moria camp with something approaching affection. That means she did not harbor any nice feelings towards her stay in the camp. And the next sentence then validates that point. Yes, infamous. Infamous is notorious. that is famous for the wrong reasons. So the camp is said to be an infamous holding capacity. And her stay obviously was not very happy because, among other things, her daughters were always sick there. Now, but then she, her husband Ali, and their two toddlers were instructed to board a ferry to Piraeus, and their world changed. The UN told us the government wants you to leave. You have papers now. You can't stay here anymore, she says, explaining why she has ended up semi-destitute in central Athens. Semi-destitute. Destitute is used for, you can say it's a synonym for poor. So she was there in the camp, but what happened? Yes, her family was told to move out. Why? Because they had the papers, and the papers gave them that that freedom, you can say, yes, according to the authorities, to move out of the camp and live a life of their own then later. But then obviously what happened to the family, we can see here why she has ended up semi-destitute in central Athens. So they did not have the positive picture that they thought would be there after having got the formal papers. That did not happen, right? Now, Hosseini is among the growing number of recognized refugees who, without home or shelter, have found themselves seeking solace and shade under the mulberry trees of Victoria Square, the victims of plans to relieve overcrowded island camps and other reception centers across Greece. This paragraph tells us that Hosseini is just an example, right? So it kind of represents this whole group of refugees, is among the growing number of recognized refugees who, without home or shelter, have found themselves seeking solace, right? Seeking peace, freedom, right? And shade under the mulberry trees of Victoria Square, the victims of plans to relieve overcrowded island camps and other reception centers. So Hosseini and her family used to live in one such camp, and they were told to vacate the camp because now they had proper papers. And many like her, yes, were now living in they found themselves at this place over here, the Victoria Square, yes, without home or shelter. So evicted from the camp, right, out into the city without home or shelter, right? So see, a refugee, generally speaking, would be a person who has been displaced from one country, right, who has crossed national borders and who cannot or is unwilling to return home due to various reasons, fear of persecution on various accounts. So now they want to make a home in foreign lands, different places, right? Now, so we now know that the passage is going to tell us the lot of such refugees in Athens. Yes, next two paragraphs. Please read. So in the coming months, more than 11,000 men, women and children awarded recognized refugee status by Greek asylum authorities will be evicted from organized accommodation to non-assisted living facilities. The center-right administration describes the exits as a crucial first step to self-sufficiency and ultimately the integration of refugees. So self-sufficiency of whom? Of the refugees. So they will have to move out of the camp where things are provided to them and they will have to fend for themselves, learn to become self-sufficient, and in the process integrate with the local population there. This was the objective of the administration. These are people who have gained refugee status and should be fending for themselves. The Migration Ministry's Secretary General Manos Logothetis tells The Guardian, if they are pampered, how are they going to ever find a job and become a part of society? There has to be a limit. A limit to what, according to the minister? According to the Secretary General? A limit to what? A limit to pampering them. A limit to providing everything to them. This is the opinion of the Migration Ministry's Secretary General. Right? So he wants these people to go out and earn a living for themselves and become a part of the, imbibe the culture of the nation and become a part of it, right? Now, yes, two big paragraphs here. Please read. All right. So Hosseini, whose family fled Iran, is in many ways already a case study in self-reliance. Already a case study. Now see, the authorities wanted the refugees to become self-reliant, and this is what the author is saying. Author's opinion is that Hosseini was already self-reliant. In Moria, now how? Now the later sentences would definitely be explaining that. In Moria, she trained as a hairdresser, eventually working in a beauty salon set up in a container in the camp. When she reached Athens, she searched for other women who could help, striking lucky when a fellow Afghan granted housing in the capital on account of having diabetic children, gave her and her daughters a place to sleep at night. So how has Hosseini been self-reliant? She has been able to, she was, she learned a trade, right? She learned a skill. She was able to use that skill to earn money, even in the very difficult circumstances that she was living in, along with her family. And then when her family had to move to Athens, she was able to make friends with others who helped them in getting them a place to stay, right? Now the next paragraph. But days are spent, but. Now see, be very careful whenever you have words like, but, however, nevertheless. So generally, then there is a contrast definitely with what has been stated earlier. Moreover, it takes the passage on probably a different path. Let's see. But days are spent in the sweltering heat of Victoria Square, with most of her worldly belongings in a plastic bag, waiting for news from her husband, Ali, who is desperately house hunting as the family makes the transition to independent living. Transition to independent living. So, having read the earlier paragraphs, we know that this transition to independent living has not been easy for Hosseini or other such families too, right? In Moria, everyone talks about Victoria as the square you must go to, she says, rearranging her colorful headscarf. So now this is where I wait under the hot sun while Ali looks for apartments, which is very difficult when no one wants to rent to refugees. In Moria, at least I had a job. Today I cannot think of work unless or until we have somewhere to stay, but at least at night, because of my babies, I can go to my friend, the kind friend mentioned in the earlier paragraph. So, what is this conjunction doing over here? So, the earlier paragraph no, shows Hussaini as a case in as a case study in self-reliance, and how she has been able to fend for herself and her family and do something positive for her future. The next paragraph, starting with a but, tells us all the problems that she's facing, the all the the trials and travails of her life. Please read. Well, the sight of men, women, and children camping in Victoria Square, right? In Victoria has evoked the chaotic scenes of 2015 at the height of the refugee crisis, when thousands of displaced Syrians passed through the plaza, most en route to other parts of Europe, before border closures made exiting Greece an impossibility. So, a number of Syrian refugees crossed through Greece and moved onward to other countries, right? No civilized state can be proud of this, says Lazarus Petromilidis, a founding member of the Greek Forum of Refugees. And this is just the beginning. Soon we could be seeing these shameful scenes in every square up and down the country. Now, why are these scenes being called shameful scenes? Because, yes, the sight of the refugee families camping in Victoria, is not a pretty sight. The whole scene brings to mind the chaotic scenes of 2015 at the height of refugee crisis. Now, the Syrian refugee crisis, now it is considered to be a humanitarian emergency. It happened because of the civil war within Syria, uh, which began in 2011. This is just some extra information, right? And in fact, a number of countries, Arab countries at that time, they went through this kind of upheaval, and it was known as the Arab Spring. And people from Syria, then, because of the civil war, they moved out to safer havens to different countries, some to neighboring countries, some beyond. All right, the next paragraph here. In May, important announcements began being posted by authorities in Aegean island camps, urging successful asylum seekers to respect this rule so that we can create a caravan space for the people that stay in tents. The estimated 1,500 refugees ordered to leave the camps are just dash. Now, we'll have to fill this blank with the options given later. Others who have also been told to make the transition are hosted in facilities, including hotels on the mainland, while at least 4,000 are accommodated in European Union subsidized apartments under the STI scheme administered by the UN in conjunction with local authorities and NGOs. So this we are talking about how the refugees are now living, right? Okay. So this is the last paragraph of this passage. Please read. Well, the housing program, which also provides cash assistance, is deemed vital for the elderly, vulnerable, and those with medical conditions. The Greek Minister of Migration and Asylum Policy, Notis Mitarakis, says 60 of the 93 hotels hosting asylum seekers will close. So that's not good news for the refugees, right? There are fears that refugees are being asked to leave organized accommodation before being given effective access to employment and social welfare schemes, to which, under Greek law, they are entitled. So here, the author is telling us about the injustice that the refugees are facing. All of this highlights the lack of emphasis placed on integration, says Stella Nanau of the UN Refugee Agency in Athens. See, earlier we had talked about how the authorities wanted the refugees to become self-reliant, self-independent, right? And then slowly and steadily integrate with the country's population. Now, what is happening is that uh, they are not, the housing part, that they are not being provided housing, they do not have access to um, employment, right? And other social welfare schemes. The social welfare schemes would be any kind of program that the government has designed to or is running to protect citizens from economic risks and insecurities. So these refugees, they do not have access to these welfare schemes also, even though they are entitled to them, right? Now all this, where is this leading to? This shows that there is lack of emphasis placed on integration. Fine. Now we start with the questions. So it was not a difficult passage. For those of you who have been reading newspapers and following the world stories, you may know something more about the Syrian crisis, or the island camps where the refugees were placed and other things. But even if you don't know anything about any of this, then also you will be able to answer all the questions accurately. You just need to read the passage carefully and understand what is being said. What is being said directly in terms of words that are written, what is being implied. So you also need to read in between the lines. So here goes the first question. What is the above passage essentially about? So what is this question about? It is a central idea question then. What is the theme of the passage? What is being discussed in the passage? Right, so let's read each option here. The first one, it essentially tells us why refugees flock to European nations. The why part has not been discussed, right? That the refugees are there, that they are having problems. These are the things that have been discussed, right? So one ruled out. Two, the passage highlights the plight of refugees in an alien nation. Well, all right, highlights the plight of refugees. We can keep this option on hold. The third one, the passage throws light on instability and upheavals in some Middle Eastern countries. No, it's not about the Middle Eastern countries, it's about the refugees. So again, ruled out. The passage lists the number of refugees hosted by some islands in Greece. The purpose of the passage is not to give you the number of refugees, right? Ruled out. The fifth one, the passage focuses on the refugees' transition from dependency to independence, employment, and social welfare schemes. Now, when you compare the second option to the fifth option, which one incorporates the general idea flow also, and not just gives you an overgeneralized answer? So between 2 and 5, definitely the fifth option is the one that is directly related to the passage that we've just read. Let's see what the explanation says. So the fifth option captures the essence of the passage, right? And so it's like a story, right? that how the refugees, first they were in camps, then they were evicted from there, then the problems that they faced, right? Then they were housed in some temporary accommodation, given papers, new residents, employment, social welfare benefits. Not all of them got it. That's also stated there, right? It is a long transition for these refugees, and at last they were, the intention was to make them self-reliant, independent, plus that they would mingle and mix with the general population and become part of the country then. Right? Then the next question. Point out what change came about in the lives of the Afghan family mentioned in the first two paragraphs of the passage. So if you see, what are the changes that came about? So it's mentioned there that their world changed. How and why? The UN told us the government wants you to leave, you have papers now and you can't stay here anymore. Now, with this in mind, let us read the options here. They were put on board a police van and escorted to Turkey. No. They were given Greek passports it should be. No. 3. They were given the right to work and live in Greece. The right to live and work in Greece. Okay. Again, keep on hold. Then when you go to the next one, they were given papers. So the right to work, and here it says, see, you have papers. So from there directly, they were given papers entitling them to refugee status, making them eligible for employment, accommodation, etc. See how the fourth option differs from the third one. So yes, let's have a quick read of the fifth also. They will be given 2 free meals per day by the UN. Definitely nothing like that has been mentioned, right? So fourth option is your answer here. Yes. Answer choice 4. Passage does not support the remaining choices. And we've discussed how the world changed. Yes, when they first arrived in Greece, they were housed in infamous holding facilities with no rights or papers. Now they were given the papers and their world was supposed to have changed for the better. Question number 3. What rights and obligations does the refugee status confer on these refugees in Greece? The refugee status, what is the advantage that they have because of this refugee status? Let's see. There was one part in the passage in the third paragraph towards the end where it says the center right administration describes the exits or the evictions, if you recall, as a crucial first step to self-sufficiency and ultimately the integration of refugees. Right? Now let's see what is the special status that they have because of them being refugees. The refugees can travel freely throughout Greece. No, not mentioned, right? 2 says the refugees will have the right to self-sufficiency and the obligation to integrate into the Greek society. Yes, possible answer. 3, the refugees will have the obligation to learn Greek. Nothing like that. We need not even read ahead. And pay special taxes. That is again not mentioned. 4, while the refugees have the right to study in Greek schools, they will have the obligation to practice their own religion. The religion part, again not there. Some of the rights given to native Greeks may not be available to these refugees. Nothing like that. Not mentioned, right? So here, correct answer 2. They will have the right to self-sufficiency and the obligation to integrate with the Greek society. Fine. So we've already discussed the answer here. And once this integration, this assimilation has taken place, then they would no longer be considered refugees. They would be part of the general population of populace of Greece, right? Question number 4. The Greek Migration Ministry's Secretary General says, if they are pampered, how are they going to ever find a job and become part of society? What inference can one draw from this statement? It's an inference question. So we want something that is hidden. Yes, we want to read in between the lines. We want to understand as to, because of this statement, can we understand the mindset of the Secretary General and the situation of the refugees? Let's see. The first one says the refugees must work and earn their living and support the Greek economy instead of depending on the government. So yes, this kind of matches, because the Secretary General is saying that enough of pampering, right? Now enough of mollycoddling, pampering, and the comforts that are being provided to you. Get out and work, fend for yourself. So one matches. Let's read the others. The refugees must work and pay heavier taxes to the government. No. Refugees will not receive any grants, loans, aid, or any other financial handouts or bailouts, whatever the situation. Nothing extreme like that has been mentioned. The refugees must study in Greek schools and should learn the Greek language. This compulsion part is also not there, but they expected to. That's another thing. The government is forcing them to live and let live. Too dramatic also. Yes, the correct answer here is 1. This quote by the Greek Migration Ministry Secretary General, from there we can infer that it's time that the refugees, yes, work and earn their living, become self-sufficient, support the Greek economy instead of depending on the government. Who is pampering them? The government, right? So yes, you can go through the explanation. Right. So in fact, we can also infer that the Greek government needs their services to sustain or boost the economy instead of being a drain on it. This is going a little bit further ahead as to why the government official would be making the statement that the Secretary General did. Okay, question number 5. What does a case study in self-reliance involve, according to the passage? Now see, Hussaini was presented as a case study in self-reliance, and the question is related to what does such a case study involve. So the case study, it involved how this woman succeeded in getting a job as a hairdresser, then first learnt the skill, then got a job as a hairdresser in Greece, and how she could make friends with an Afghan woman and stay with her for a few nights. That helped her family out, right? Otherwise, they were homeless on the streets. The case study also indicates the saying that, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And who is the tough one over here? The Iranian lady, right? Hussaini. Now see, the first option says a study which should not be taken as a model. Which should not be taken as a model. Ruled out. Contradiction. One case study need not be like another. They all differ in parts. So this is not, again, this is the Hussaini and her family and whatever they had to go through, yes, being taken as an example, right? So not even 2. 1 ruled out, 2 ruled out. 3, the case study in question demonstrates and proves the triumph of self-reliance in getting jobs in Greece. True, as exemplified by Hussaini. The case study involves getting the go-ahead from the Greek government. Getting the go-ahead from the Greek government, no. The case study implies that one should use one's wit to do what? So this is very general, whereas the case study is very specific about how she was able to build her life as a refugee, right? So 5th question, 3rd option is the answer. So when the going got tough for this Iranian hairdresser, she got going and succeeded in attaining self-reliance. Her case study is an example and encouragement for every woman and man in Greece who are on a similar refugee status. That yes, there is life, there is hope for you, and you can also succeed. Question number 6. What memories does the Victoria Square call up? Now, the scenes described of Victoria Square, they are not very happy or good scenes. If you recall, let's see. It is the square where the police opened fire to disperse refugees who were fighting one another. No, this is not there, right? It calls up memories of people queuing up to receive rations. It does evoke memories of the times when the Syrian refugee crisis was at its peak. But queuing up for rations, so 1 out, 2 out. Third, the square is the right place for all refugees to find employment and other forms of help. But they have been camping there for long, searching for housing, searching for employment. That hasn't happened for most, right? So third also ruled out. The Victoria Square is the rendezvous of all refugees in Greece. A rendezvous is a place, where it's like a secret meeting, right? So this is not a place where they gather together to discuss each other's life and families and all. So this is again ruled out. We're left with only the fifth option. The Victoria Square calls up memories of the chaotic scenes of 2015, the height of refugee arrivals from Syria. So this is a direct question. This is directly stated in the passage. Here is the explanation for you. So there is no inference to be drawn here, no assumption, no inference. This point is directly stated in the passage. Right? The sight of men, women and children camping in Victoria has evoked the chaotic scenes of 2015. When thousands of displaced Syrians passed through the plaza, most en route to other parts of Europe, before the border closures made exiting Greece an impossibility. Then they had to stay on there and make their life there. Seventh question. Why are these scenes in every square up and down the country described as shameful? In fact, while we were reading also we focused on it. Why shameful? Because whatever is happening should not be happening, right? And what is happening? No civilized state shall be proud of this, says Lazarus Petromilides. And this is just the beginning. Soon we could be seeing these shameful scenes in every square up and down the country. Shameful scenes of the refugee families, homeless and making the square their temporary home, you can say. Yes. On the lookout for employment or a place to sleep in the night. Fine. So here. First option says the scenes were much lowlier than what happened many years ago in Greece. There is no comparison over here. Right? A founding member of the Greek Forum of Refugees says that no civilized state can be proud of those scenes of 2015. Definitely, right from here. No state can be proud of this, what is happening now. Right? Fine. Wrong or right? This can be a correct answer, right? As of now, if you don't find a better worded one. The third one, the refugees behaved as if they were behaving in their own country. New idea there. They were relishing the freedom that they tasted when they arrived in a free and democratic country like Greece. No, but they were not relishing the freedom. Obviously, they were refugees, they had fled their country, so they would be happy being in this other country. But here they were facing problems, right? They were homeless and bereft in the square, Victoria Square, right? So not the answer. Some of them knew that they were en route to another European country. Now, this is also a new idea altogether. Founding member says that no civilized state can be proud of those scenes of how the refugees were living. Right? Now, yes, you may go through the explanation here. So the Greeks felt ashamed of those scenes in 2015 when, at the peak of the Syrian crisis, Victoria Square, or let's say Greece, saw the influx of refugees, and while they were moving on to other countries till the time the Greek borders were closed. All right. Number of questions there, and when if it's a passage that you've understood well, it's good for you that there are a good number of questions. The 8th question, select the word which is the most similar in meaning to the word given in bold as used in the passage. So we'll have a look at that sentence also, but otherwise also pampered has got only one meaning, right? Most similar can't be lynch, yes, because this is a highly negative word. When you kill someone, you lynch that person. Mollycoddle, yes, because mollycoddle is like when you protect the person, you don't allow any harm to happen to that person. Not only to happen, you don't allow any harm to come near that person. Right? You cater to the person's all whims and fancies. So yes, definitely mollycoddle is your answer. Most similar to pampered. Now, prevaricate, what does this mean? There are two, there's another word, procrastinate, which is very often confused with prevaricate. So this means to deliberately delay doing something. And prevaricate means to lie, to not tell the truth, to avoid telling the truth, right? Want, ignore, different words altogether. So mollycoddle is your answer for the word, or as the word most similar in meaning to pampered. Look at the sentence here. If they are pampered, how are they going to ever find a job and become part of society? So who is pampering them? We discussed this earlier. So according to this particular official, the Greek government was pampering the Syrian refugees, or the refugees in general, right? The sentence is a negative connotation. The word also has a negative connotation as it indicates dependency on the government as per the context. Lynch and prevaricate are ruled out. So this is kill, this is telling lies. Want and ignore. Want is to boast, ignore is to overlook. Mollycoddle is your answer here. Question number 9. Select the word which is the most opposite in meaning to the word given in bold as used in the passage. Opposite in meaning. So the word relieve. Opposite of relieve would be when you relieve someone of something, when you feel relieved, you feel comfortable, happy. So positive word, right? So we're looking for a negative word over here. So mitigate, palliate, and alleviate, in fact. Yes, so these you can consider to be similar to relieve, right? Assuage is another similar word. Allay, they're similar words. Now subdue, when subdued lighting, that is different. Dim lighting, right? Or it can, when you subdue an enemy, so it becomes vanquish, defeat, quell, right? Incite would be to provoke, to instigate, to inflame, right? So opposite of relieve would be to incite. So one is to calm, to soothe, to lessen the pain, and the other would be to incite. So 9.5. Yes, your explanation here. Relieve means the victims, okay, the sentence as given in the passage, the victims of plans to relieve overcrowded island camps. It's like poor camps. They are not being able to bear the burden of so many refugees, right? So relieve them of this burden. In that, you can understand it like that. All right, moving on. Question number 10. Fill in the blank based on the information in the passage. Choose your answer from the choices given. So this was the 10th sentence that was there, and the option to fill in over here would be, so which is the correct, so this is an idiom, right? So which is the best, or the proper way to express the idiom, and that is the tip of the iceberg. Now you use this this group of words, the tip of the iceberg. This is just a tip of the iceberg, to convey that this is just a small part. There's a much larger part that is still hidden. Yes, this is a small part of a much larger and more complex part, and it is almost always used in the negative sense, right? That means much darker issues are there which are not yet known. In fact, interestingly, there is an iceberg theory. There's iceberg personality. So when you say iceberg personality, that means you don't know much about that person. Most of it is not known to others, right? All right. The meaning and standard interpretation of this idiomatic phrase would be the tip of the iceberg. We've discussed the meanings here. All right. In fact, some example sentences, the recent riots are just the tip of the iceberg. I'm just beginning to find out that his truancy is just the tip of the iceberg, and that he's heavily involved in drugs. This is just the beginning. There's a lot more still to follow. Now, directions for the next questions. In the given passage, there are blanks, each of which has been numbered. Against each, 5 words are suggested, one of which fits the blanks appropriately. So find the appropriate word in each case. So one passage and many blanks. So this is known as a closed test. Now the way to go about this is that first you read the whole paragraph with the blanks, paragraph or paragraphs with the blanks, and then you start filling in. You need to make sure that not only is the sentence proper in terms of grammar, in terms of logic, but also that the idea fits in with the rest of the sentences too, in terms of logic, in terms of tenses. And so these questions you have to be very alert. Let's read. On the occasion of World Cotton Day, organized by the World Trade. So I'll read first with the blanks, right? We will not be filling in blanks. So as you read, sometimes what will happen is that you will get a word in your mind, and to such that the sentence becomes logical. Then for an answer, you can look for a similar word in one of in the options, right? So it's like getting a mirror image of the answer in your mind as you read along. On the occasion of World Cotton Day, organized by the World Trade Organization in Geneva on 7th October 2019, the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India announced the dash of Phase 2 of Cotton Technical Assistance Program. So the ministry announced the dash of a particular program. We can say a start, beginning. The program is aimed at dash productivity in the cotton sector. So should be increasing productivity, logically, improving the post-harvest and plant by products industry in the participating countries, as well as building the capacity of the cotton-based textile sector. So this was to be the objective of the aim of the phase 2 of Cotton Technical Assistance Program. First steering committee of phase 2 of CTAP, this is the short for this, right? CTAP, held in February 2020, has prepared the action plan which is to be dashed accordingly, which is to be implemented, followed. These are the words that come to mind, right? Now the next part of the paragraph. Virtual meetings were held with stakeholders on 28th and 31st August 2020 to finalize the issues, dash to the activities to be undertaken related to, inherent to, right, intrinsic to the activities to be undertaken in 11 African countries for smooth implementation of Cotton Technical Assistance Program CTAP Phase 2 in these countries. The representatives of various institutions have dashed their support for successful, have offered, given, right? Their support for successful implementation of CTAP Phase 2, including cotton production and productivity enhancement, skill development and capacity building, entrepreneurship development, undertake awareness creation programs and other activities. So see, as we were reading, we were also trying to figure out the kind of word that would be there in that particular blank. Now let's have a look at the answer options that have been given to us and see whether we have been able to pick the correct answers, whether we have been able to read the paragraph in the most logical and grammatically correct manner. Yeah. So for the 11th blank, on the occasion of this day, the ministry announced the dash of this program. So announce the heave. No, heave means to haul. When there's something very heavy and you like a heavy sack and you heave it over your shoulders, right? Haul, to tug. Fling is to throw, like a catapult, right? Hurl, in fact, fling and hurl, they are synonyms also. They mean to throw. Instigate is to provoke. Launch is to initiate or start. Yes, so our answer should be 5. Correct. Logically, a program is initiated or launched. So over here we have our answer as launch. Announce the launch of this particular program. Now, so here we have launch already. Now the 12th one, the program is aimed at dash productivity in the cotton sector. Aimed at swelling, blistering, blazing, enhancing, piercing. So there are certain options that we can immediately eliminate, right? And those options would be blistering, blazing, piercing, right? Blistering is used for something that is fierce, intense. A blaze is generally used for, like a wildfire. Conflagration. To pierce is to make a hole, with a very sharp object, right? That is, literally, but otherwise, somebody can have piercing eyes also, as if the person is able to look through you. So these 3 words are immediately ruled out. Now we have enhancing and swelling. Swelling also means to become large, to grow, right? Enhancing also means to become large, also to improve, right? So the correct word over here, aimed at dash productivity. So enhancing is the better of the 2 words. And see, there's something known as collocation. Yes, which word fits is the best fit in which situation? 2 words may be synonyms, but not replacements for each other. Yes, correct answer is the fourth one. So we have launch and enhancing. Let's see the 13th one over here. First steering committee held in dash has prepared the action plan which is to be dash accordingly, which is to be prevented. The opposite idea, demanded, implored, besieged. Yes, implored, besieged, both of them, mean to beg, earnestly. So ruled out. And which is to be demanded. No, demanded doesn't fit in logically. So the correct answer here is implemented. Implemented logically. Yes, so we've got it correct again here. Now the next part. Virtual meetings were held with stakeholders on 28th and 31st August to finalize the issues dash to the activities to be undertaken. Now, natural to the activities. Natural to the activities. Grammatically also, the sentence construction is wrong. Inherited is something different. When you inherit something from your ancestors, right? So ruled out. Intrinsic, possible. Let's see. Joint to, grammatically wrong. Pertaining to, intrinsic to, pertaining to. All right, so why should we choose pertaining over intrinsic? Yes, let's read again. Finalize the issues pertaining to the, related to is the word that, so which word matches with related to? And when you say intrinsic to, that means they form the basic or the core part, right? And here we are talking about issues that are connected to, related to, hence pertaining to will be the answer over here, right? So contextually, this is the word that fits in best in this particular situation. Pertaining. Okay, so here we have pertaining. Now the 15th one. The representatives of various institutions have dashed their support for successful implementation. Have given their support or have, yes, something like that. So amass their support? No, you can amass wealth, right? You can't say that I have amassed their support, right? Mended, ruled out, doesn't fit in at all. Racked, no. Plagued, no, right? Plagued is a negative word generally related to, to torment or afflict. So they've assured their support. They've said that yes, we are there with you. So assured their support. And that is our answer there, the second option. You see how to go about solving such questions? And always remember that the sentence that you're forming contextually fits in with the rest of the sentences. Overall, the meaning that comes through is logical. Okay, now some other types of questions here. In the given question, a statement has been divided into 5 segments, each of which is denoted by A, B, C, D, E. Rearrange all the segments to form a coherent statement. So we have to form one particular sentence. Fine. Bringing together all the segmented parts in a proper way. Have a look here. So see, options are given here. So run a quick eye through, down all the options, all the parts of the sentence given here. Up completely, we can't start with this. Makre age 19, age 17, we can start. Generation pop stars is one of the who have grown. So you get a clue directly, right? So when you look at, so you have A, B, B and C as the starting part. Up completely online. Yes, so this should not be, you cannot start a sentence like this, right? So all the options that start with A are ruled out. Between B and C now, C says generation pop stars. And if you read ahead, generation pop stars is one of the ruled out. Now B, D or B, A? That is the question. McRae age 17 is one of the first, yes, matches. BA, McRae age 17, up completely online. So yes, we have our answer in the second one. Let's read the complete sentence in that order: B, D, C, E, A. McRae age 17 is one of the first generation pop stars who have grown up completely online. Right? So if you write the sentence, who have grown up completely online, right? So yes, all the grammatical clues that are given to you, make use of them. How, one part is being linked to the other. Fine. So here is your explanation for that we've just discussed. Okay, so here we move on. Question number 17. Become dominant, have been, so nothing starting with T, we don't have anything starting with T. So options, 2 options starting with C, 2 options starting with A, 1 with B. Become dominant in the country, so this is ruled out, right? A and C, as the more contagious virus maybe can start. Let's have a look at the part that continues. Yes, A. So if you have A, B, as the more contagious virus become dominant, we need not read it, grammatically wrong. AE, as the more contagious virus have been, again, see, virus then becomes a singular subject. Yes, so become is a plural verb. When you add an S to a verb, it becomes singular. Here this is a plural verb. Have been, plural verb. So again ruled out. So we are sure that we are starting with C, and we are sure that CE form a pair, right? Infection numbers in Germany have begun rising again. Numbers have begun. You see the link here. Have begun rising again. Now, D or A. Variant first detected in Britain has. Yes, the link, there's something missing there. So not CED but CEA have begun rising again as the more contagious virus variant first detected in Britain has become dominant in the country. So correct option CEADB. Clear? Now we move on to the next part. Here is the explanation that we've just discussed. See, we have made use of subject verb agreement, subject verb concord as you call it, concord or agreement, whatever. Noun pronoun agreement also. Many times you will see that we have to match the tense structure also, right? Sentence structure, the construction of the sentence has to be such that it is grammatically correct and logical in its meaning too. 18th question. Is notoriously will not start So ruled out this option. From the outside world, maybe let's have a quick, let's read in that order quickly. From the outside world, at isolating inmates, is it notoriously strict? Inmates is otherwise also the first two, part 2 ruled out. Then you have at isolating inmates. So this you cannot start with C also. You're left with D and E. The IK2 prison. Yes, we can start with this. The IK2 prison, and E says and set to excel. Again ruled out, right? So yes, correct answer DAECB. Let's read. The IK2 prison is singular subject, singular verb, notoriously strict and set to excel. It's strict and something else also, and set to excel at, so this is a phrasal verb. Excel takes the preposition at after it. Excel at isolating inmates from the outside world. Absolutely correct. Yes, so with the explanation, you see the reordered sentence will be: the IK2 prison is notoriously strict and set to excel at isolating inmates from the outside world. Question number 19 is used to, yes, we will not be starting like this. Then B says dealing with disasters may be. Let's read. Dealing with disasters. So B and C, eruptions and avalanches, all right. The volcanic island, Iceland with all its, so otherwise also, okay, Iceland with all its is used to. The sentence is all mixed up, right? Ruled out. C, eruptions and avalanches is used to, plural is, doesn't match, ruled out. All right. D, the volcanic island, Iceland. So Iceland is the volcanic island. So that connection over there, island, and that is Iceland with all its eruptions and avalanches, right? After that is used to dealing with disasters. Because of all the eruptions, the volcanic eruptions and avalanches that follow, is used to dealing with disasters. Correct answer. Now, just to check out your second one, ED, Iceland with all its, the volcanic island. Again, no connection there. So we have the sentence as the volcanic island, Iceland, with all its eruptions and avalanches, is used to dealing with disasters. Question number 20. All right, now question number 20. Let's try out another way, right? We'll read. See, with E we cannot start, but we don't have any options over here. That's the first thing that we see. Let's read the first option in this order. Advocates have all called on the state attorneys general and consumer rights in federal student loans via executive order, democratic lawmakers. So this, there's no link over here among the groups of words given. So this is definitely out. Let's try the second combination given here. CADBE. Democratic lawmakers, a group of 17 state attorneys general and consumer rights advocates, all right, have all called on the President of the US to cancel up to $50,000 in federal student loans via executive order. Perfect. And you can check how the others They don't match. B and A, President of the US to cancel up to $50,000, State Attorneys General, no connection here itself. Advocates have all called on the President of the United States to cancel up to $50,000 in federal student loans via executive order. Democratic lawmakers, a group of, again, big disconnect here. Likewise for the fifth one also. So 20th question, CADBE, and this is the final statement that we get. All right. Now we move on to the rest of the questions, and we can very clearly see that they are based on grammar. A sentence is written in 4 different ways. Select the grammatically correct option, keeping in view meaning and usage, and mark it as your answer. If none of the options is correct, mark none is correct. So, I'm sure before you take any such test, you must revise everything that you've done. And one part of your revision should be to revise the grammar rules. Right? All the rules that were there related to various parts of speech, right from nouns to pronouns to verbs, adverbs, adjectives, yes, conjunctions, prepositions, phrasal verbs, idioms. So revise everything, all the rules, you must have attended classes and made your notes. Go through your notes, go through the handouts that you've done, go through the practice exercises and the theory part. Fine? Okay, now let's start. Question number 21. So we have to pick the one that is correct. So for this, what will we do? We will read each sentence one by one. All right? As we read, we will identify the subject and see whether the verb matches or not, see whether the pronoun matches or not. And we'll also keep an eye out for other types of errors related to any parts of speech, right? Neither emotionalist nor academic. Okay, we see a neither nor pair. The book, the Sufis. The book, singular subject, offer. Yes, here there's a mismatch. So this is singular and this is plural. So one ruled out. Now once you've identified this error, quickly glance at the other options to check whether they have the same error or not. Sometimes, or in most cases, they have. Book offer, book offers, book offers, book offers. Yeah, too bad, right? So let's read the next one. It says neither emotionalist nor academic. Fine till here. The book the Sufis offers, fine here too. Offers the closer thing a written work can. A closer thing. What is meant by a closer thing? Yes, ruled out. Neither emotionalist nor academic. The book the Sufis offers the closest thing a written work can to an experience of Sufism. So the book is so well written. This is what the sentence is saying. Yes, correct. Look at the fourth. Neither nor, fine. The book the Sufis offers the close thing. Again, wrong. So correct answer, third option, which is the only one that uses the correct adjective form of close in the superlative degree. Fine. And we've discussed about the subject-verb agreement part also here. Question number 22. The first statement given here. It is wonderfully liberating to discover that to forgive oneself is one of the most generous and unselfish thing you can do. Two very obvious errors. See, one of the always takes a plural. So remember, one of the, and it should be a plural subject. One of the boys, one of the cities, one of the countries, one of the players, right? So it should have been things. So this is wrong. And here, oneself. So if you recall your pronouns class, if the subject is one, then the repeated subject is also one. The possessive pronoun is once, and the emphatic or the reciprocative pronoun is oneself. So over here, since it is oneself, you cannot have you. That's also wrong. So quickly, that makes things a little easy. So thing, things, things, thing. So this is also ruled out. So in the exam, you will use this strategy to save time. So fourth option is also ruled out. Now if you see you again, second is also ruled out. So you have to choose between 3 and 5. So let's read 3. If 3 is wrong, then 5 is your answer. If 3 is correct, that's your answer, right? It is wonderfully liberating to discover that to forgive oneself is one of the most generous and unselfish things one can do. Correct. Yes. Fine. See over here, it is the sentence, all the sentences rather, it is, it is, it is. So all these sentences are in the present tense. Fine. And the rest of the sentence, the rest of the verbs also then should match. Okay. All right. One can do, one could do is also wrong. That's another error over here. But anyway, in the exam, you find one error and that option is ruled out. So yes, this is what we've just discussed. Question number 23. Children's thorough the world. Children's. Wrong. Thorough. Wrong. Right? Children itself is a plural. Children, children, children. All right. Okay. So one is out. Now go to the second one. Children across the world are intimately connected to the growing learning gap created by disproportionate internet accesses. Disproportionate internet access. So one out, two out. The third one, children throughout the world are intimate connected. No. See, connected is a verb. And if we want a word to describe the verb, the manner in which the connection is there, manner in which they are connected, then we should be using an adverb. Yes, so it should be intimately. So this is also wrong. The fourth one, children across the world are intimately connected, matches, connected to the growing learning gap created by disproportionate internet access. Correct option. Everything fits in grammatically in this particular sentence. Right? Child, children is a plural form. Yes. Intimately is the adverbial form of intimate. Yes. Now, interesting over here. The preposition across refers to from one side to the other of a place, area, etc. And through implies the movement of something from one side to the other. Right? In an enclosed space. So through is used for an enclosed space then, right? For example, the medical shop is across the lane. I can see green colored gas flowing through the pipe. Right? So option 4 is your contextually, logically, grammatically correct answer. Question number 24. Energy is required to create movement so fluids and nutrients get to the cells. So, okay, enabling the body to function. So that you're giving a reason why is it required so that this can happen, right? So 1 ruled out. 2 says energy is required to create movement so that, yes, fluids and nutrients get to the cells, enabling the body to function. Correct. So now we have to check what is wrong with the other options. The third one, energy is required to create movement. So fluids, again, that is missing. We should have checked initially itself and ruled out the third option. Go to the fourth. Energy is required to create movement so that fluids and nutrients gets. So when you add an S to a verb, it becomes singular. See, he lives next door. And they live next door, right? So then over here, fluids and nutrients, plural subject. So gets doesn't match here. So fourth also ruled out. Correct answer, option 2. Fine. All right. Now the 25th. Life is simple for those who, life is simple for those. Who are the those? Those, we are referring to human beings then, right? So we cannot use which over here. Similarly, those that also ruled out. Now we have life is simple for those who, for those who. So let's read them one by one. For those who can comfortably dismiss astrology as bunk, superstition, and a global mental aberration, a globally shared delusion that plagues some modern minds. Nothing wrong in the third one. Let's try to find some errors in the fourth. If third is correct, fourth is definitely wrong. Life is simple for those who could comfortably dismiss astrology. Life is simple. Life is simple. So here we are talking about which tense? Present tense. Right? Therefore, the could is wrong. There's a tense mismatch over here. This modal doesn't match. Who can dismiss, who can comfortably dismiss, right? So third option is your answer here. Those refers to people, therefore we need who after that as a pronoun. Contextually, the people dismiss something and not the life. Hence 1 and 2 are ruled out. Yes, sentence is in present tense, hence the modal could is not appropriate here. If you practice enough, the grammar questions you can answer accurately and very fast too. Alright, directions for the next few questions. A sentence with 4 words in bold type is given. One of the 4 words may be wrongly spelled. Yes, if all the words, then that word is your answer. If all the words are correctly spelled, mark all are correct. Alright, so checking your spellings. A colossal destruction during tsunami in 2004 was so gigantic that it was difficult to gauge the extent of destruction. Colossal, that means huge, large, gigantic, similar. Destruction, alright. Ruin. Here is the culprit over here. And the correct way to write this would be G-A-U-G-E. What does gauge mean? To measure, right? To estimate, determine. Yes? Or to measure. Fine? So, G-A-U-G-E. 27th, the intimate trifles within the family transforms a house into a beautiful home full of love and affection. Transforms correct, beautiful correct, affection correct. So which is the wrong word over here? We have trifles then. Fine. Now, if you see, a trifling matter, you say no, this is a trifling matter. That means this matter is of no consequence, very little importance. So trifles means a thing of little value or importance. Fine. So that is the word that has been wrongly spelled. It should be with a single F. 28th. The huge shop displayed exquisite curtains, upholstery fabric, and excellent curtain tie backs. Exquisite, something that is rare, exotic, positive word. Upholstery, spelling wrong. Yes, here the correct spelling will be Upholstery. So single L, not a double L. Excellent. Curtain, fine. So the right spelling, HOLS. Upholstery fabric would be the fabric that you're using to as the upper covering of your sofa sets, or maybe the dining table chairs. Yes, the seat of the dining table chairs, upholstery, right? Even the car seats also, covers for them. 29th. At the beginning of the lockdown, digital platforms. See, the key to such answering these questions correctly is not to just rush through. If you rush through, your mind will read the word as a correctly spelt word. So the highlighted word, slow down a little there. So platforms, definitely wrong, and you have your answer. This is the wrong one. At the beginning of the lockdown, digital platforms were a critical tool for audience engagement. Correct answer. Correct way to write it would be platforms, right? Platforms, because there's a word over here. The 30th question. The party released its manifesto for the current assembly polls that had announced a slew of promises. So in this case, which option should we have? Manifesto correct, assembly polls correct, announce correct, a slew of promises correct. So all correct. Fine. So I hope you keep on practicing and make sure that you do not repeat your mistakes and do well. All the best to all of you.